bad. I do also have like another thing to bring up, and like Monhol, can you look in the replies to this space? I cannot for the life of me figure out what button to press to goddamn get shit up into the jumbotron. I had this.
If you hit the share button and scroll all the way across, you should see like a.
I cannot scroll across. When I click the share button, I get post this, or is it post this?
No,
no, that's just making a post of it. That's just making a post of the space.
Anyway, like on
I don't get anything.
What I use. Yeah, okay. Anyway, I'll go in. What post did you want put
up,
or just
in the replies to the space? I've got a couple. It's one of them is like a reply deep to the other one. So I quote tweeted this account called the Anarchist Turtle, who is saying that Social Security is 100% of their income, and that they have cerebral palsy, and they've been told by doctors that they can't work. If that's true, if doctors say that, then bad doctors. Perhaps exaggerated, I don't know. And I was saying that, well, it's an anarchist who apparently only source of income is government handouts. I was saying, well, there is just no such thing as a leftist anarchist, is there? And then this guy, High 530, responding to me saying, well, no, this is a stopgap measure. And I was saying, okay, well, a stopgap measure is temporary. It's supposed to be temporary. How is it going to be temporary when OP is claiming that they have a doctor's note to never have to work in their life? And he's saying, well...
A doctor's note to never have to work is crazy. I used to take doctor's notes to get out of school because I wanted to play PlayStation at home. Like, a doctor's note to, like, I'd never have to work again, doctor's note. That would be awesome.
And, like, and then they were saying, well, they could envision a replacement system that isn't government-run. Personally, I don't see that happening, which is why I'm not full anarchist, but it is not paradoxical. It's like, oh, so it still does rely on somebody else doing all of the work, and they get to be an eternal past. There's never any stage at which this stopgap measure of other people pay me to live stops.
Yes, exactly. Was there another aspect of this? Oh, well, I suppose one thing I wanted to bring up was like, look, to concretize this and give a real world example, like I was a little bit more, when I was a bit younger, a little bit more down bad than what I am now. When I say down bad, I was like, I was not making enough money to be able to afford to rent an apartment or a house by myself. So I was in a share house, so it's not that bad. But no, like the people I was living with, one of them made like pretty decent money as, I'm not going to say exactly what the job was, like as a tradesperson. So they're working in the trades, and so they'd done their apprenticeship and whatever.
Executive.
So they were making pretty good money. But like this person was like a textbook example of someone who like their inability to save for the long term and like actually build up wealth was nothing more than their fault. Like he had enough income to where he should be able to spend and live a reasonably comfortable lifestyle and then also save. But no, he had like 2 car loans on the go, both for like shitty cars that would break down all the time and cost money to fix. He'd had a kid at 19 on purpose, like, and had then split up with the mother of the child. So he was now paying child support since he was 19 years old for a kid that he deliberately had. He just spent ridiculous amounts of money traveling. Like when I say traveling, I mean literally like driving from town to town, on weekends. He used to spend money on drugs, alcohol, like you name it. This guy was fucking spending his money on it. And like living with this person, like was a real eye opener for me to be like, man, like I get that, as ANCAPs, we have this criticism of the state where it produces poverty thanks to, inflation and taxation and whatnot. But like in this example, there's absolutely no reason why this person should be anything other than, middle class and comfortable. And instead, because of their own fully conscious decisions that they've made, they are anything but that. And I just sat there and I was like, yes, we obviously need to criticize the state's role in making people poor, but we also need to criticize people's own roles in making themselves poor. And that was a pretty textbook example of that. Did you have any kind of thoughts on that at all, Zulu?
Yeah, you see this a whole lot this is a lot of the people who complain a lot about student loans where they'll take these massive loans. One fair point in their favor is don't give loans to people who you're almost certain will never be able to pay back those loans. Bad investment, quite frankly. But you see this also with people who get like ridiculous car loans. They show up all the time on these like shows, like the financial audit type shows, where they have like enormous amounts of debt. I'll tell you how much debt I'm in. $0 worth of debt. I know some people will be like, well, debt's a fine thing. In certain senses it is, but I just don't care. I just don't care to have debt. I don't need to have debt. So I'm definitely not going to bring onto myself like a crushing amount of debt. If you want to bring on debt, like understand how you're going to pay that back in installments. Understand, okay, do you have like the stability to be able to pay that back in a reasonable within the time frame, and not have this just be an eternal sword of Damocles over your neck? I mean, I'm fine with renting, of course. That's like almost a form of debt. But like these people just go in there with ridiculous amounts of debt. You got yourself into that situation. Like, maybe you don't actually need Klarna for your like $20 lunch that you just bought. Maybe you don't need Klarna for that. Maybe don't pay that in installments. Just pay the $20. If you can't afford the $20 now, then don't buy that lunch.
Right. Like on debt, look, obviously not financial advice. Want to put that caveat out there. I'm not a financial expert, so don't come to me and say, well, I did what you said and, my wife left me or whatever. Like, I don't care. I am heavily against the idea of like, for the average person, the idea that it is a good idea to like use debt as some way to like, be able to be like, oh, people will say, oh, rather than spending $50,000 on a new car, if you're going to spend 50 grand on the car, you should, instead of, just sinking all that cash into it, you should instead, get a loan and then invest that 50 grand that you still have. And then you can like, if the loan is only, 7% and you can make 8%, then, well, you're making money, right? Because you're making that 1% spread. It's like, look, I'm not bringing that amount of risk and, potential ramifications into my life for the sake of a 1% spread on a car loan versus, the money that I'm investing. Okay. I'm just not doing it. Okay. Because people always, when they do this math, they always just assume that, yeah, no, things will be fine. I'm not going to get laid off from my job. The market's not going to take a downturn. That 8% figure that I was given, that is going to hold up consistently month after month for the next, 7 years or whatever. It's like, no, why would I bring that level of unnecessary risk into my life for a small percentage of money that I'm going to make on some, as I said, some kind of spread on, the outgoing versus, what I'm bringing in my investments. Like, it just makes absolutely no sense whatsoever to do that with your life. Okay. Debt and bringing on that kind of risk is for insurance companies and for betting agencies. Okay. They can afford because of the large cash flow that they have and the large revenue that they have.
Also,
they
have actuaries who their entire job is to analyze the risks and properly weigh them.
Exactly. Like they have people that are paid very, very large amounts of money whose specific job is, as you said, risk profiling and whatnot. Okay. Those are the people that are managing hedge funds and insurance companies and betting agents. Those are the people who can afford to, play the margins and be like, oh, this has a 15% chance of being paid off, but we can make 10x our money if we do it. So, it's worth the risk. Like they can afford to do that because they have large cash flow and large reserves. Okay. If you're an average person, you don't have that fucking money. So not a smart idea to try and play that game and be like, yeah, I can make a little bit of spread in the long run. It's like, no, just again, not financial advice, but if it's me, I'm playing it safe. Okay. I'm saving my money and I'm buying things in cash wherever possible. Just to, that's my perspective on things. But, if you have a different opinion, then by all means, that's fine. We'll go to Sue.
Yeah, that's a broken mentality, dude. You gotta take some money. I'm being ironic, obviously, but you gotta spend money to make money. Obviously, debt differs. Like personal debt, most of the time is dumb. But like if you're opening up a business and if you have confidence in your capability and your entrepreneurship, you should absolutely take debt. I guess, as I said, that's what debt makes sense the most of it, and probably how it would mostly work if we didn't have the fiat currency. I don't agree with people that debt as a concept wouldn't exist if not for the fiat currency system. That's stupid. Like if you can profit from lending someone money, and if you can't get it back, a lot of people would do that. That's pretty easy money to make if you can get it back. But like it absolutely makes sense if you trust the market and if you think you have a good business or a product idea and you want to, to get in someone is willing to give you money because they also think your business is a viable option, and you take the money and make a business. Like if you have a good, this is not an investment advice, but if I had a good small business idea, I would just trust myself and go into it. But it's also kind of on the bank or the person giving you the loan. Like you shouldn't really like go around giving loans if someone has like a stupid idea on what they're going to do with the money.
I do want to clarify, like,
banks will,
I'm not against debt as such, of course. Like, if you've got, like, I mean, obviously the wealthiest people in the world, they have, like, a massive amounts of debt, but they guarantee their debt against, like, their massive capital holdings already. Like, so debt is its own. Like, yeah, it's fine. But you got to be real careful with it. It's I'm talking about, like, the people who scroll through a couple TikToks where they heard, like, well, credit is the root of all wealth. That, wow, oh my God, I'm going to just get, like, this 10% car loan. It's like, no, maybe don't do that. Maybe you should think through this decision a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. Agree.
What I'm talking about is, to clarify, personal debt. Okay, debt because you wanted to go to Ibiza for a fucking holiday, or debt because you wanted to, buy, as I said, like a nice car or whatever. Like that kind of debt is bad. Business loans, okay, a loan that you took out from the bank to start a business that you expect to make large sums of money, and that you have collateral against, like that's different. Okay, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about
Yeah, absolutely.
like credit card debt, that kind of bullshit, and obviously like mortgages obviously is a kind of debt. Like, you know, fine, take out a mortgage. Because you expect to hold that asset for a long period of time, and it's most likely going to increase in value.
Yeah.
So that's different. But yeah, I'm talking about that like bullshit personal debt that people rack up.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I will clarify that, like, if we didn't like live under like a system of scam, but the whole currency like monetary system, most banks and institutions would only most of the loans given would be business loans, like business to business, because those are the most like reliable and trustable form of loans. Like the torture of because the people who like get into personal loans just so they can find, I don't know, like a designer purse or whatever, are also the least likely ones to pay it back. So like banks would use their existing cash flow to people who have legitimate business ideas that they see that the business is viable, rather than like, so like Yoga Girlie in New York City can buy her, like, I'm gonna sound like a boomer, but like can buy her $10 coffee every morning. I also wanted to say another thing with those tweets. I want to clarify. So these people, right? They act like there's this like we're these evil people, and it's like we want to oppress people, we want to like do evil shit, we want people to die or whatever. No, like if you look into American history, you are philosophically closer to literal like, I don't know, Southern plantation owners than I am. I am the exact opposite of like Confederacy, Southern plantation owner, whatever side of history and philosophy. You are closer. You are literally closer to KKK members burning innocent people, right, than I am. I am the one that doesn't want to enslave people. I am the one that doesn't want to kill people. You are the one that is defending to kill and enslave people. But at the same time, these people are such hypocrites that they claim we are the ones closer to these like all these evil people when they don't realize that's their philosophy. My philosophy is literally the opposite of enslavement. And I just want to like, I usually avoid saying this because I hate using leftist buzzwords, but I start to think I need to remind these people they're philosophically the same, of the same fraction they claim to be exact opposite, I guess. That was all.
Sure. Zoe, did you want to add anything more to that, or what was another topic you wanted to bring up?
Well, I do have some more clarification on the Gary Stevenson stuff that I didn't get to before.
For sure.
Yeah, so I noted down one of his arguments. This is of course going to be a paraphrase because I like just wrote it down as he was talking. And at one point, Piers asks him. Piers, of course, asks in the most roundabout, annoying, dipshit way possible. But the thrust of his question is like basically, well, what is the problem with billionaires? Like, why are you wanting to tax them? Like, what have they done wrong in effect? And his answer is passive income, right? So what he means to say, so basically the fact that, you know, they're not, I guess, toiling away in the fields or whatever. They've just got investments out there and they are accruing returns for them. So when he says passive income, think productive investment, because that's what it really is. You've got these productive investments, and that's why he hates billionaires. And so his argument is, if we allow, that's his word, allow, disgusting language, there to be billionaires, if we allow there to be billionaires, they will buy up an enormous amount of assets every year, and asset prices will go up. This will squeeze out other elements of society. What you'll see is that the working class, middle class, and government will lose their wealth. I've got a few problems with this. Obviously, it's not about fucking allowing. Like, how disgusting is that? Their fucking wealth. It's not on you to like, oh fine, I'll let you have it. No, it's theirs. But also, I've got 2 points on this really. 2 main counter arguments. First, like, what specific assets are those billionaires buying up? Right, we touched on this already. Almost entirely, they're putting their money into productive investment, which is the very thing he's annoyed about, right? That they're getting this passive income, right? How are they getting this passive income? Because they're pumping the assets they've got are productive investments. And those productive investments are, in fact, as the name would suggest, producing more value. It's not swallowing up some fixed quantity of value. That's his first problem there. And secondly, how does this not reduce to a total command economy? Let's put on our chronic hats for a second and think about what this regresses into if we recursively apply this argument to itself. Okay, so let's say we agree with him on the billionaires point. We agree with every premise of his argument and the conclusion. We agree with the whole thing. Okay, so let's get rid of these billionaires. We'll tax them away. Great. But now, if we allow these millionaires to exist, well, they're going to buy up an enormous amount of assets, and asset prices will go up. So get rid of them. Well, gee whiz. Now these hundreds of thousands heirs, they're going to do the same. Get rid of them. So on and so forth. This, you can just keep applying this recursively, because there is no principal difference between the billionaires and any lower income group. So it applies at every single level. So really what he's saying is, these people have more wealth. Get rid of that extra wealth. Redistribute it. That is the end point of his argument, is that wealth is totally flat. He says he's not for redistribution of wealth, but he is. That is the actual practical implication of what he's saying.
100%. Yeah, Gary is a complete moron, and it really is like pretty kind of devastating how influential he's become. But hopefully you can smack him down in a video and eviscerate him once and for all. Just send him into orbit. I suppose that's the goal. But we'll see.